Hello, this is Unit 1, Lesson 5 of Math 1, or Algebra 1, translating expressions. So just some basic review. Operations can be found in word problem in word form. And for example, adding means like addition. So the sum of, if the word problem is asking you to find the sum of something, it's asking you to add these two numbers together. Similarly, subtracting the difference between. So if the word problem says find the difference between these two numbers, it's asking you to subtract those two numbers. Translating equations is trying to make the word problem into an equation and trying to make it simpler. Essentially, think of math as another language, and each word has a different correlation. So as I said before, the sum of meaning addition, and then the difference between meaning subtraction. So the 5 operations that we usually find in these types of equations are adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and then something that was not really normal, that we're not used to, but equals. And these are all words that you can find in word problems. These are all just examples that you can find in these word problems, and you'll have to add them. For example, if you find the word add, that means addition. If you find the word subtract, it means subtraction. If you find the word distribute, that means multiply. If you find the word group, that means divide. If you find or identify, that's equals. And just like a heads up, these aren't all the possible words that signify addition. Any word that means to add, so combined, total, those might mean to add. Anything to remove is subtraction, so get rid of, takes away. To multiply, anything to multiply, so again, to distribute, to multiply, to square. Anything to group, so maybe you have 5 cookies and you need to divide them evenly. And then any word to solve, so to find, to identify, to total to, is, like that. Those are all different words that you can use when translating equations. Now here's an example. Identify the solution after distributing the value of 5 to the sum of 3 and 2, followed by the removal of 6. This is a math word problem, just not with a scenario, it's just with English. Now you have to translate it to math. So how do we do that? First, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight in the colors that are possible. So identify. Identify is a word that means equals, because up here, identify means to find, so that means to find the total of. So I can highlight identify. The solution, that's our key word right there. Solution means equals. So that's how we know that this means equals. After distributing, distributing means to multiply, and multiply is green. The value of 5, I'm going to underline our numbers. So that means we got 5 multiplied by the sum, that's addition, of 3 and 2. Followed by, so after all of that, the removal, which is getting rid of 6. So essentially, what we have is we're having 5 multiplied, and then we have 3's being added to 2, and then the last thing we have is minus 6. So how would we set this up? First, we know that 5 is going to be distributed to these things. And if you know what distribution means, distribution is normally associated with parentheses. So what we would do, it would be 5 times the sum of 3 and 2. And we know that 3 plus 2 is going to be inside the parentheses because whatever you do to the parentheses is first. So as you can see here, to the sum of 3 and 2, you're multiplying by 5 because that's what the words mean. You do this first and then you do that. And then followed by the removal of 6 means that after all of this is done, we subtract by 6. So that's our problem. Now we just solve. 3 plus 2 is 5. We know that. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 minus 6 equals 19. So our answer is 19. Note, it's telling us to identify the solution. So make sure that you read the question and you identify what the actual question is asking for. So the answer to this one would be 19. Let's try this one. Again, I'm going to highlight as I go. Find the solution after dividing the value of 4 from the difference of 24 and 8, followed by the addition of 6. So what's happening here? We know that 24 and 8 are being subtracted because difference is subtraction. We know that we are dividing by the value of 4. And we know that we are adding 6 at the end. So how would we know which is which? We know that after dividing 4 from the difference, which means we have the difference and we're dividing by 4. So we'll start by writing down our difference, which is 24 minus 8. Now we know that we are dividing by 4. Division and fractions are the same thing, so you can use either one to just simplify it. And now we are adding by 6. So we add 6 to this whole thing, which gets us to 24 minus 8 is 16. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. There we go. And here's another one. Locate the numerical value. So that means try and find the number value. That means to solve. After starting with 5. So our beginning number is 5, positive 5, and then doubling it. If you know anything about what doubling means to multiply by 2. Multiply. So we're going to multiply. Doubling means to multiply by 2. Then include 8 and 4 grouped into 2. Include means to add, means to take in. Include 8 grouped into 2. 4 grouped into 2 means that we have the original number of 4 and we're grouping it. So we have 4 and we're grouping it into 2. So grouping means division, if you recall from our list above. But just to show you what 4 grouped into 2 means in like a word problem, we have 4 beginning grouped into 2. That means we have 2 groups. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's where we have this. And then finally, so lastly, square it. And if you know what squaring means, we're going to take our total and then we're going to power it by 2. Means multiply it by itself. So let's write down all this stuff. We started with 5. So let's go ahead with 5. Then doubling it means multiplying it by 2. Then we have to include, which means to add, 8, and also means to add. And 4 grouped into 2, because grouped is division. And then lastly, we square it. So that, just one more time. We started with 5, so that's why it's here. Then we doubled it. That's the second thing we do. Then we're going to add by including 8, and because it has and, it's going to be together, 4 grouped into 2, which is 4 divided by 2. And then lastly, we square it. So let's just undo all of that so you can read it. There we go. So let's start with our parentheses. We can do 2 at a time. 2 times 5 is 10. 8 plus 4 divided by 2, which is 2, is also 10. 10 plus 10 equals 20. 20 squared, because we have this down here, equals 400. And there you have it. That is how you translate equations from English to math and make it solvable.